Expedition 33 is a masterpiece. The story is amazing, the visuals are top tier, and the combat takes the normal slow turn-based RPG feel and turns it into something active and engaging. But as a vivid Baldur's Gate 3 enjoyer, to be honest, I'm a bit too lazy for this combat. How do you dodge this? Dodging and parrying a bunch of attacks every turn just sounds way too stressful. So when booting up the game for the first time and reading that in expert mode, dodges and parries are required, I knew what I had to do. Can you beat Expedition 33 without dodging or parrying a single attack? Getting into the game, I naturally start by making sure to select expert mode. Surely they knew what they were doing when they wrote is required, right? And after some way faster than expected running, holy sh... She's so fast! We get to the first tutorial fight.
During an enemy's attack, dodge at the right time to avoid damage. Oh. Wait, shit. I have to dodge. Well, I guess we already failed the run. That's big.
Yep, we are 1 minute in and already forced into both dodging and parrying. Excellent start. Thankfully, after resetting, it is possible to simply just click no on wanting a tutorial and take on this fight without it.
You can also aim. Wait, I can shoot her? What?
Losing 60% of my HP in what is actually meant to be the easiest fight in the entire game sure did not fill me with confidence for the rest of this run. We met up with Sophie, spent literally 1 hour just talking to people.
Trash can man?
Before making it down to the port, where we get to fight our first actual enemy, this very creepy looking mime. And well, it went about as well as expected.
Wait, I'm dead.
You are meant to simply block a few attacks and then land a big stun on the mime. But without being able to block, I could only tank a single attack, and just barely at that. Thankfully though, this still turned out to be just enough, as by first attacking normally and then using overcharge immediately, it just barely was enough to immediately fill his break bar and thus let me finish him.
Man, you know the run's gonna be good when I have to strategically choose my moves against the literal second enemy.
Then it was time for the first super depression cutscene.
I'm here.
What an opening. Holy. Got me tearing up here.
And after a quick loss to the rematch with Mael,
she has so much health. Okay, that wasn't even close. I am finished.
We can finally embark on Expedition 33, which lasts a full 2 minutes before we all get brutally annihilated.
Fucking snap out!
No, Lucian!
Finally, the prologue is done and the real game can begin. So let's see what the first combat has to offer, shall we?
Wow! Well, I'm gonna win, but...
Yeah, I almost lost again. Easiest enemy in the game, by the way. At least, that is the only enemy we have to fight solo, as Lune decides to save me from ending the challenge right here and now. Thanks, Lune. Very cool.
Do I get a full heal at least? I don't.
And after another close shave with what is meant to be another super easy enemy, we also get our first Pictos. Anyways, after another easy fight,
Jesus,
we also get our first level up. Here we get to choose some new skills. I chose a heal and a mark thingy, but more importantly than that, we get to put 3 attribute points into any stat we want. Since I cannot dodge or parry any attacks, these will all be going into vitality, defense, and agility. Our defenses are key here if we want to get anywhere. I wipe a couple more times to some random scrub enemies.
99, that's nothing. He's still just one shot.
No. Lose to the first flying encounter 3 times in a row.
Great, just fantastic. Just excellent. I will beat you. If every encounter is gonna be like this playthrough is gonna take a really long time.
And stumble upon our first chromatic enemy, and as you might have guessed, immediately get one shot.
I have lost 10 times already.
before finally coming across the first real boss we have to attempt. Avec. I'm as great at names as ever. And already we come across our first real wall. At this point, even while having put every single possible point into vitality, we still only have 300 HP, which really is not a lot when the enemy plays 2 times in a row and deals 150 damage each hit. I was officially stuck.
Okay, this is not possible right now.
So I backtracked, collecting every possible Pictos we could get thus far. Some of which were really nice, like getting +3 AP per enemy killed or 25% crit chance on burning enemies, but it just didn't matter. I simply did not have enough stats to get through this, no matter how well I strategized or how lucky I got. So what was the only remaining thing to do? Turning right around and fighting the enemies right behind me until I leveled, which didn't actually take that long. I was able to get some very important skills here, like this one, which lets us gain +2 AP as long as the target is burning, and this one, which deals earth damage to all enemies, great for clearing the ads. But again, my stats were still just way too low. I simply had to keep grinding, which would turn into a real hassle real quick. See, this game has both exponential XP requirements and yields, meaning that as long as you progress as you're supposed to, you will level at about the same pace. But if you for some reason need to be higher level than you are meant to, well, get ready to kill hundreds of enemies for a single level up. I think I spent 3, maybe even 4 hours here just to get to level 9.
I have 71 of these.
With this level, I had just enough skill points for me to pick up Rebirth, letting us resurrect any fallen party member with 70% HP, and with my HP now, with just these few levels more or less doubled, it meant that I could actually tank some hits without instantly folding.
Oh yeah, we are way more tanky now.
To say it was easy was an understatement though. This fight was still rough, and I almost lost multiple times. It became this balancing act of carefully managing my AP while both making sure to deal damage and constantly heal my characters. But after a few tries, I just barely managed to squeak by.
Please live, Lune, please. Okay, bring him back. Let's go. 5 hours for the first boss, but I did it. Finally.
With that raid boss down, we now unlock the open world, or at least a bit of it. But really, there are not many ways to go.
Abyss Cave. Danger. That sounds great. It's a boss? Where am I? Oh my god, I'm not meant to be here.
The only real way is into flying waters. The enemies here are fairly harmless, to be honest, especially these guys.
Guys, there's no point. What is that encounter? Why is that 1000 XP?
So, without basically any interference, I fairly quickly made my way past them and over to our first encounter with the manor.
Oh. That's a bit suspicious.
Here we get to recruit Mael.
Why is he in a mansion? I don't...
Who sadly, due to how much I had to level, is very underleveled already, and are then, before getting any chance of making her stronger, forced into another tutorial fight with the curator himself. It introduces us to Jump, another sort of dodge, which means naturally I can't use it, but not using it would prove to be a real problem, as each of these waves were doing a solid 1/5 of my entire party's HP bar. And with him outspeeding me, was sometimes able to do 2 of these in a row. It was just too much damage for me to sustain, and not even the new shell Pictos I had found, providing me with 20% damage reduction, was even close to enough. So, I couldn't outlast him, but I couldn't exactly just out-damage him either. My highest damage, being a fully charged overcharge, only did about 1/4 of his HP. Our newly acquired character Mael has potential to do way more than this, but with her low level, she was getting actually one-tapped. So I figured, hey, over-leveling worked before, surely it should work here as well. I was, after all, only level 10 and had run past an area with those flying guys, which literally take 2 seconds to beat. So farming then should be pretty quick. And so I did. I spent around 3 more hours here just killing these guys over and over until I got all the way from level 10 to level 19. I was extremely over-leveled now, or at least so I thought. So very confident, I went back to the curator again, and well, I'll let you have a look yourself.
Whoa! Why did you do 500 damage?
As it turns out, this particular fight with the curator works a bit differently from any other in the game. The higher level you are, the more damage he will do, and also the more HP he will have.
He has like 40,000 health now. What is this?
So after all my hard work, I just got even more destroyed than before. Over-leveling clearly would not work. So what did I do? The sensible thing, which would have been to simply lower the difficulty or just, you know, dodge 1 or 2 times? No, of course not. Instead, since the lower my level was, the less damage the curator would do, I decided to replay the entire game.
Alright, here we go again.
Attempting to get to this point as low of a level as possible. The only real obstacle standing in my way of doing this was, again, the Evec. But with some great play and a lot of luck, I managed to beat him at level 8. 1 entire level lower than I had previously managed to. Now I just needed to get over to the manor without getting any more XP. And thankfully, doing so is not all that hard, as you can mostly just run straight past the enemies. In the one spot where I couldn't, I could still just utilize the otherwise seemingly useless flee option, and so managed to get over to the curator at just level 8. At this level, as you can see, he deals significantly less damage, but it would still not be easy. I would need some serious burst if I wanted this to be at all doable. And thankfully, Mael here has just that. Mael's unique mechanic is stances. She can enter these by using different skills, and there are 3 of them. Offensive stance, the by far worst one, granting her 50% increased damage, but also 50% more damage taken, which is pretty terrible when you cannot dodge. Defensive stance, for 50% less damage taken, very good, and we will come back to this one. And finally, the most important one for this particular fight, Virtuose stance, for a massive 200% damage increase. In the fight now, I start by using Powerful on Gustav, granting all allies a 25% damage increase for 3 turns. Next, I make sure to set the curator on fire using Lune, allowing Mael to enter her Virtuose stance. The curator does some fairly high damage to me here,
Still almost dying.
but thankfully it's not enough to kill, and with exactly 2 AP, Gustav can now cast Marking Shot. And so now, after healing Mael, we have reached our absolute highest possible damage at this point, using her Per Se skill, which deals even more damage if the target is marked.
Damn, 3,000.
This, of course, is still not quite enough. However, since I have equipped the critical burn pick dose, we get an extra 25% chance to crit. And so, after trying again with a crit on this hit, it is just enough to take him out right before he can wipe me completely.
Holy shit, I did it! Why was that so hard?
Whew. That certainly took some brain power, but we made it through. It just took like 10 hours. Oh boy. Hey you! Are you enjoying this video? Then make sure you hit the subscribe button. I make one of these every few weeks, and if you hit the subscribe button, you'll be notified for the next one. As a reward, we get to meet up with Noko, bully him for some cool items, and then quickly after get a bunch more very good weapon upgrades and pick those. The normal fights here are way tougher than before, but by utilizing Mael's skill that gives the entire party 3 turns of shell, we can still easily just tank through it all. I also ran into our first side boss here.
What's down here? Never mind.
It has this very fun mechanic of eating a random party member till you break it.
What? He eats her? What do you mean?
So this fight became very much RNG.
We are cooked.
Apart from that though, its damage is not unbearable, and as long as Gustav was not the one getting eaten, I could fairly quickly get back my party members and managed to beat it in just 2 tries.
Who is this? Hello, sir. Chromatic Troubadour. Right. Well then.
Yeah, second chromatic enemy, same outcome as before. It was at this point that I realized that most of the chromatic fights were just completely out of my league this run. At least I can still steal his loot, I guess. And so we arrive at the next story boss, Goblu. He has a few things which makes this very difficult. Firstly, he, just like the curator, absolutely loves spamming moves which hit the entire party. And while sustaining a single ally's HP is not that hard, doing all three at the same time is way worse. Thankfully though, with level 15 just gotten, I had also gotten access to the skill Revitalization. For just 5 AP, it heals everyone for a massive 60% health. And with me recently getting my hands on the rewarding Mark Pictos, it now meant that I could funnel all my AP over from Gustav to Lune every turn, easily letting her sustain using it every other one. So if this was all the fight was, it really wouldn't have been all that hard. But of course not, there's way more to it. At 75% HP, Goblu summons 4 flowers.
What are these? I assume I need to shoot them?
They can be shot, and if done, will close for a single turn before he opens them again. If not shot though, they will permanently buff him with increased defense and damage, already hurting if he just absorbs 1.
Okay, I guess I can't let him get the single flower.
Still, even though it meant basically losing out on another 4 AP every other turn, it felt very manageable. But at 25% HP, he does it again. And this time, there are just too many to shoot.
Holy shit, that's a lot.
And well, in just 1 turn, his damage absolutely soars.
Ooh, yay.
Into something which is just not tankable.
Not sure what to do there, honestly.
Every attempt I got here had the flowers bloom and then immediately lost. If I wanted this to have any chance of working, I needed my timing with Gustav's overcharge to be absolutely perfect.
5, I shoot him. Okay.
It's so close! Mark! Oh, are you kidding me? So, by waiting till he was just over 25% HP and then breaking him, I could delay the flowers blooming a whole turn, which was just what I needed, finally letting me beat him.
Let's go. That took way too long. What was that, like 7 attempts?
Finally out of flying waters, the curator now shows up in camp, letting us upgrade our weapons, and it is time to enter the Ancient Sanctuary, which is the first area where even the normal enemies are very hard. They all deal very high, both single target and AoE damage.
I'm getting completely destroyed.
Way worse than that though are the stuns. Many can stun multiple characters every turn, meaning that sometimes I just simply didn't get to play at all. Everyone is stunned!
Oh my god.
And the boss in this area sure is not any easier. It was time for the ultimate Sakapatate. Thankfully, it does not have any stunning moves, but it does have something significantly worse.
Now we can... 6,500. Woo!
Upon reaching 75% HP, it raises its shield, firing 3 cannon shots after each move it makes. Not only dealing almost 300 damage team-wide, but also inflicting stacking burns. Now, what you are meant to do is stun it and then simply shoot its arm, but as this was a completely blind playthrough, I never actually figured this out, and without it, this damage was just unsustainable. So without much choice, it was time to backtrack and try to find something I had missed.
Whoa. This cannot end well. Okay.
I came across a 1v1 arena where I couldn't even win a single fight. Found a parkour rage game section. No! Helped another friendly Nevron and even went back to beat up the first chromatic enemy we had come across. But none of these gave any sort of relevant reward which would help me at all. That is until I stumbled upon another danger area, Redwoods. The only thing inside is a lonely fountain, and upon interacting with it, it prompts us to pour some chroma into it. Doing so once won't do anything and will simply double the cost, but if you pour enough, something will happen. The exact amount you need is 90,000, and thanks to the sheer amount of farming I did super early in the game, I already had 63. So in order to get the remaining 30,000, I walked over to these guys on the continent. Killing them is very quick, and they give almost 1,000 chroma each time, which meant that by just resting, I could repeat it until I had enough, which took like 40 minutes or something, but honestly, that's nothing at this point. And so, after pouring all the chroma into the fountain, it wakes up and awards us with a pretty unbalanced new Pictos.
Hello? It gives 2,000 health.
The sheer stats it has is absurd, and you are really not meant to have it this early. Equipping it and we more or less just become invincible, which sure would make the fight really easy, but it's also just kinda boring, so I actually won't be equipping it. What I will be using though is its effect, Recovery. For 10 Lumina points at the start of each turn, it restores 10% of our HP, and since we have around 1,000 on each character at this point, that is 100 HP every turn, effectively bringing down the damage I took each turn from a team-wide 300 to 200. Even with this though, it would still not be easy, and I still lost a fair few times. I just couldn't quite deal enough damage while at the same time keeping everyone healthy. So for the first time, I actually had to take a look at resistances. And this particular one is very weak to all fire damage, but almost takes none from lightning, which thankfully both Lune and Mael are very good at. And after discovering this, it went fairly smoothly.
Finally, another one down. I swear, all these bosses are like barely possible. It's so hard.
Finally, with that boss down, we can now enter the Gestural Village.
What? Damn, he's got moves.
Where a lot of really good Pictos wait us, but more importantly, the tournament also exists. This is a series of battles which has to be fought 1 versus 1, and as my highest damage dealer by far was Mael, I decided to enter with her, which turned out to be the correct decision.
Bye. And you're gone. It's moved us so much damage, man. Oh, who's this? New character? Alright, let's go, Ciel. Okay, I might be a bit over-leveled.
After the tournament, the winning character gets a special weapon reward, which in Mael's case turns out to be a really strong one, letting us start in Virtuose mode instantly, basically saving us an entire move every fight. We also get Ciel here, in basically every way just stronger character than Gustav when it comes to sustaining. She can mark, gets her AP back using her unique mechanic, and just like Lune has a team-wide heal for just 5 AP.
Oh, time to never use Gustav again, I guess.
Speaking of Lune, we also picked up a weapon called Trebuchet here. Its effect generates a random stain anytime we free aim, which is incredibly strong when combined with our newly acquired Mayhem skill, consuming all our stains for some very high damage. And I will get to test it out very shortly as it was time to go pick up Eskia. And after a quick beatdown of this very British turtle,
Let's go, Francois. Uses the strongest ice attack ever. Oh my... Well, he wasn't lying. You were a formidable foe, Francois.
Unlock the ability to summon him on the overworld map. We can now access some new optional areas, but they were basically all way too hard for me, so off to Stonewave Cliffs we go.
God damn!
This area is really where this run is going to get going, as we get some really meaningful upgrades here. The first one, and probably most important one, from this random enemy.
Oh, that's clean. Oh, there it is!
This Pictos is literally a game changer, completely changing the way AP generation works to grant it every time we get hit instead of parrying. which, you know, since I can't dodge, is all the time. I also got one which reduces the damage any marked target deals by 30% and collected a weapon from a paint cage called Duenum. This weapon is going to be what we use very soon, but for now it is time to go challenge the Lamp Master. The first phase of this fight is really not a problem. While he hits fairly hard, as long as I don't play badly and make sure to keep all my characters at full HP, which I easily could do with this new AP generation we have, he can never bring down any of my characters, and with me having some really good damage now,
Finally hitting for more than 10k in a move.
he went down pretty quickly. Phase 2 though, oh boy. Phase 2. After each move, he does this ritual with lamps. What you are meant to do is simply shoot the lamps in the order they light up, as if you don't, he gets a permanent damage increase for the rest of the fight. This is something which I am sure most people immediately understand, but I am not most people and somehow completely missed this. Which meant that I essentially would be on a timer as he just dealt more and more damage every turn. To make things even more fun, this is also the first enemy which comes with the silence condition, completely preventing my entire team from casting any skills. The only thing I could do was basically just use some heals and then pass.
It's gonna be so close. Yeah. Holy shit, it's one-shotting me now. Close, but not quite. Gustav? Gustav with the carry?
This was weak.
Come on, Gustav, you can do it! Please, be enough! Yes! The Gustav, the carry! The Gustav carry!
Sadly, his time in the limelight does not last very long.
For those who come after.
Is he gonna die here? No, Gustav! Right after he carried my ass.
Honestly though, nothing of value was lost. Did you see that damage? He couldn't even break the max damage cap with a fully charged overcharge. Anyway, better, cooler Gustav is here now, and Eskie also gets the ability to swim, really opening up most of the map for us.
Gustav is dead. What in the shit is that?
But again, most of the side bosses are simply out of our league.
Okay, never mind.
We also get introduced to yet another mechanic here. They just somehow never stop coming. Gradient counters. These are bigger, slower attacks meant to feel amazing to counter with very generous counter timings. But since I can't do it, I kinda just have to tank it to the chin. These attacks are just way too strong though, so it's finally time to actually create a real tank. Specifically using Mael and her Ajid ability. Using it makes Mael enter defensive stance and also jump in front of any ally attacked, taking damage in their place. By combining this with Duenum, the weapon picked up earlier, makes it so that anytime she takes damage while in defensive mode, she grants our entire party +1 AP.
Holy, the AP she's giving, actually.
Basically just letting them use whichever skill they want every turn. And so with this new team, it is time to take on the coolest boss yet. Dueliste.
Damn, this guy looks cool.
And to be honest, it was really quite easy. Mael just tanked everything.
Look at how tanky she is. Look at it.
And anytime she would die, Lune could simply just bring her back.
It's actually working. Hell yeah, that was pretty clean. This build is working out really good. Damn.
With Dueliste defeated and Gustav buried, it was time to make our way over to the mountain region and enter Monoko's station to fight the man himself. He hits very hard, but all his moves are just single target. So again, there were no real issues here.
Take this! Bam, 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 bam. Easy peasy.
The real problem would come shortly after when we get to fight this giant Stalact. The only thing it does, basically the entire fight, is just create earthquakes.
Holy, that damage! Wait, I'm just dead? What in the world?
It was so ridiculous that this no longer was a matter of simply overleveling. That would not be anywhere close to enough. I couldn't even live through a single round. So I only really had one choice.
I need more defense, clearly.
And that was using the level 20 Pictos I had collected a while back. Basically doubling both my HP and defense. But even using this item that you're not even meant to have, it would not be easy.
I just doubled my defense and he still hurts so bad.
Verso, why aren't you using gradient attacks?
I don't think he's using them. Because he's dead.
Thankfully, the Stalact only does this move every other attack, but it still meant that I had to spend a lot of my turns just healing myself. And to make things worse, this is also the first enemy which can freeze our character, working exactly the same as a stun, so I had even fewer turns to work with. It took a while, but by playing correctly,
Oh, this is gonna take an eternity.
I was slowly able to chip away at its HP, piece by piece, until eventually I finally brought it down.
Oh god, don't hurt me, please. Okay, we're fine. Woo! 35,000 damage taken. I almost took the same amount that I dealt. This is truly a tank playthrough.
With the Stalact down, it was now time to enter Old Lumière. And apart from that particular encounter, my team was working extremely well, which of course meant that the game would throw something new at me. And in this case, it was the classic splitting up the gang.
Whoa.
I hadn't had basically any time to use Monoko, and CL had been benched ever since I got Verso, so their damage was certainly lacking.
Holy shit, he hits like a wet noodle.
But even worse than that were the enemies here.
Why does everything hurt so bad all of a sudden?
These are by far the hardest hitting ones so far in the game, and most of the time I couldn't even live through a single attack. It also certainly did not help that they were several times faster than me.
I just lost. I just lost. It's just over.
So once again, I had to utilize the running away option, which worked well enough. But it wouldn't work so well with the other party, which now just consisted of 2 characters. Thankfully, Mael is several times more tanky than everyone else, so even though there was a forced fight here, it worked well enough. Or at least that was the case till Verso also decided to leave, leaving Mael completely solo. She was only barely even able to win a 1v1 here, and taking on anything more than that was just not possible. But with a bit more smart kiting, I was still able to get all the items I wanted.
What I do is this. Easy.
And make it all the way over to the manor, where the gang once again gets together to face down with Renoir. And this fight is a pure RNG fest. He has a bunch of giant AoE damage moves, and one which silences my entire party.
Verso, man, can you stop dying?
But it still felt manageable. That is, up until he used this move.
What? What? Vanish?
Yep, he straight up just has a delete button.
What the f... Everyone's just gone.
This move is meant to be countered and is very easy to do as it's a gradient one, but since I couldn't do it, anytime he used this move, I would just permanently lose a character. So if he decided to be an asshole and just used this move multiple times in a row, it was just game over.
That seems entirely fair.
Renoir basically had me on an unpredictable clock, and the longer the fight went on, the higher the chance was that he would simply delete my characters.
Man, you're so lame.
During the few attempts where I did manage to get him somewhat low, I also ran into another problem. At around half health, he summons these funny looking petals.
Stop.
And if they live even one round, he is healed all the way back to full health.
What? This boss is some dog shit.
And with my very lackluster damage, I struggled to kill even one of these. It was clear that if I wanted any chance of winning, I would need to change up my game plan from defense to offense. To do this, it was time to swap Mael back over to her per se skill and equip Verso with a new interesting weapon we had gotten from the Dualisto fight. It allows him to play again after base attack, allowing him to attack once for free every turn. And by equipping him with some base attack pictos, like this one which adds an additional attack, and this one which makes the target defenseless, I now had a team which could dish out at least somewhat decent damage. So all that was left now was just getting lucky. Attempt after attempt, he would disappear me, but with enough persistence, eventually I got on a run where I made it all the way to the halfway point without him having used it even once. And now, with my improved damage, could deal with the petals without any worries. At this point, his attacks got way more flashy.
What am I even looking at?
And every move he did was always targeting my entire team.
Holy, that one got scarier real fast. But we lived through it. Easy peasy. And now Belsip. Bam! Let's go. That was by far the hardest fight so far.
With Renoir defeated, I decided to backtrack and beat some bosses I had skipped, and also go through this strange maze thing.
What? I mean, yes, of course. Of course. I know what I'm doing.
And it gave me just enough XP for Loon to learn Typhoon, arguably her best skill. It deals some solid ice damage while also healing my entire party at the start of each turn 3 turns in a row. This means that by combining it with pictos like AP on heal and Rush and Shell on heal, this one move would now buff my entire party with all of these every single turn. So with a now way stronger party, it was time to move on to Visage Island and face down with the first Axon. The game does give you a choice here to either head straight for the boss or go down the several side paths. I'm not sure what actually happens if you just go straight in. I assumed the boss would be stronger or something. In any case though, each of the other ways has these creepy looking masks with a sort of mini boss. All of them were really quite easy though.
Stab, 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 stab.
And I beat them without too much effort.
Oh, what? A flying guy? Really? Virtuos. Pop. This Mael free aiming really is working, huh?
Everyone apart from this guy.
Hello. Oh my god, I can tank it. Never mind. He decided he wanted 2 turns. Okay, when do I get to play the video game? He just took 7 moves in a row. That seemed entirely fair. I think I'm just gonna leave him alone.
As for the Visage fight itself, it's very cool and extremely cinematic, which is one of the benefits of doing a no dodge run. I can just sit back and watch the moves. But apart from being cinematic, it's not all that difficult.
Wow, he's just not dealing any damage, is he?
The only real move which hurt at all was the Anxiety Mask.
Anxiety mask? Okay. What is this gonna do? Ow? Holy shit, okay.
Which, to be fair, almost one-shot my entire team. This is only the pre-fight though, and if you don't have the damage, which I didn't, after using all his masks, it will sacrifice them all to set your entire team to just 1 HP, just in time for the real Axon to reveal himself. Luckily, at this point, my healing is off the charts, and with just 1 turn from Lune, I could almost get everyone back to full health. The Mask Keeper himself is actually very mild with his moves. Most are just single target and they don't even hurt that bad.
I can poke him a few times. Poke, poke, poke. Wow, he's just not dealing any damage, is he? Look how tanky she is. Well, that went extremely well. Cool.
First Axon down.
Hello. Oh my. Oh my. I forgot about these guys.
Next, it was time to head for Siren. This is another area where all the enemies are flying and thus kinda just roll over and die. So getting past all of them was very simple.
Plus 10% shell damage reduction. Ooh, I'm gonna have to equip that on everyone. That sounds really good.
But while the enemies are easy to deal with, the first mini-boss was not, as this is where I got to learn about the very fun mechanic called Charm.
So she's charmed now. I don't know what charm does, but I'm about to find out.
It lasts indefinitely and simply makes our characters act on their own and attack random allies.
Wow, that is very bad.
And while it can be removed, the final boss here just does it way too many times. I needed some way of negating it. And thankfully, there is such a solution on another mini-boss, the Tisseur. But to get it, we would first need to beat him. And he also has another funny mechanic, Curse. This is a condition which straight up just kills the character affected by it in a set amount of turns.
So in 8 turns, I just die?
This is a complete death sentence for me, as killing a boss in even 8 turns would be very difficult with my highest damage barely scraping 20,000. Curse can be cleansed, but as he also loves spamming full party AoE attacks, Lune was completely preoccupied on just spamming Revitalize every turn. And well, eventually my time simply ran out.
That was not enough turns. I didn't even get close there.
I needed some other way of cleansing my entire party, and Verso just so happens to have one called Burden. For a single AP, it removes all status effects from every other party member and puts them all on him instead.
Did that work? It did work.
And with just one member cursed now, cleansing it was way easier. The second time he decided to curse me, I could also utilize Lune's new Gradient skill to simply cleanse the entire party. And so that was about all this one wrote.
Victory!
With this victory, we get the very thing I had been looking for. The anti-charm Pictos, completely making us immune to charm.
Bro, I'm immune. You fool.
We should prepare before we head there.
I am prepared.
And so, with a charm immune Verso, it was now time to challenge the second Axon. As I said, she does have a lot of charm moves, but with Verso being immune, he could simply just absorb it if any other party member got afflicted by it. Unfortunately for Siren, with my new shell now giving me 30% damage reduction instead of just 20, she simply just couldn't kill any of my characters.
I'm just too tanky, man. Look at this. Their HP is barely moving.
And not even Verso, my squishiest one, was dying.
Alright, let's see what you got, Siren. The final act begins. How would you even dodge this? This looks crazy. No, yeah, no, that one did hurt. Easy game. That was a really cool fight.
With the second Axon defeated, we could now return to the Curator and create the Barrier Breaker. And so, it was time to face down with the Paintress. Or at least that's what I thought at the time.
Damn, this game looks so good. Well, will it be doable? Wait, what? What am I attacking? What? Nullified?
Turns out the big one never was the Paintress.
What is happening?
So instead, it was time for a bit of a goose chase inside the monolith before we get to fight the real thing. Here we get to go through a gauntlet of all the enemies we have fought thus far.
Hello guys, the first enemies. They're back.
Including most bosses.
Oh, I remember you. Sweet revenge. Wait a second, his arm is shining. Don't tell me. Are you... That's all you had to do? I struggled so long on that guy.
And also a few new enemies, which were giving me some trouble, especially this chromatic Virgin one.
Okay. Yeah, that ain't happening. Not in a million years.
I really wanted the item behind him though, and again, luckily you can just snag it without him caring at all. The Pictos we get here is Stay Marked, giving us a 50% chance to reapply Mark when attacking a marked target. If we combine this with another one, picked up a little bit ago, called Double Mark, our mark uptime suddenly becomes on average 4 times better.
That's great. This mark shit is so OP. Look at it. It's permanent.
I was also able to get the Stormcaller skill on Lune here, making it so that every single time an enemy takes damage, they get hit by a lightning bolt. I also picked up the Phantom Star skill on Verso here, a huge AoE attack which would decimate any normal encounter I had.
What? That's a pretty good move. I don't know why I haven't been using that.
And with these new upgrades, the journey through the monolith went very smooth.
What's happening? She's just frozen. Huh? Practicing her ballet moves or something. Let's pretend that never happened.
All the way up until I got to Lumière. Because yet again, here are the funny 200 million damage dealing enemies. And just like last time, I had no chance to tank them.
Okay, I'm just dead.
The main problem was just that Lune never even got a chance of casting her Typhoon. So to solve this, for the first time, it was time to actually spend some of my Color of Lumina points and grab a whole bunch of energizing starts. With enough of them, on turn 1, she would start on 8 AP, letting her instantly cast it. And this kinda worked, as long as your name isn't Verso. Yeah, it was still a struggle, but it became doable. And eventually, I got over to the rematch with Renoir.
Well, here we go. Renoir. Hello, my friend.
And it was the same song and dance as last time.
Oh, he's got that vanish shit again. Why? Damn Renoir.
A few tries later though, and he finally decided to stop spamming it.
That one just hurts so much. Holy 59k? Something is coming. What is this? Full heal?
In phase 2, Renoir powers up and gets to act twice every move, but thankfully he also completely stops using the vanishing move here, which meant that it was back to a normal fair fight.
He does no damage.
And well, sadly for him, he no longer had any hope of winning.
Ow. I guess I'm just too tanky. Whoo!
With Renoir finally gone, we are done with the monolith, and it is finally time to face down with the Paintress.
Okay, here we go. I have heard from a few friends that this might be where my run ends. So let's see just how ridiculous this fight is actually.
In the first phase, her moves hurt, like a lot,
Oh my god, ow.
but not enough to actually kill me. It was very close sometimes,
Oh, the crit.
but with my over 4,000 HP on every character, they were able to tank through it all.
Okay, clean phase 1.
Phase 2 is really where it kicks off though.
Damn, this game is so cool.
She does a lot of both single target and full AoE attacks.
That's not a good sign if that's the first move here.
And some of these, my team just would not be able to tank if Mael did not block it for them.
Get him, Verzo. Damn, 63,000?
At 30% HP, she also puts basically every debuff known to man on our party, which thankfully immediately is removed upon Luna getting her turn. The only kind of annoying one is the curse, but this kind of solves itself as you can simply free aim shoot these for an extra turn or two. Somehow, I just barely managed to live through it all, even this super crazy one.
Rips reality apart. What the fuck? Whoa, that's so cool. Okay. Please stop. Oh my god. Okay, we're alive. Holy 4k per free aim? Damn, Verso does so much damage.
And beat phase 2 first try.
Is there a phase 3? Is there a phase 3 to this? Oh my god, there is a phase 3. Why is there a phase 3? Why? Okay, never mind. We're good. There it is! First try, Paintress. Defense is just too good.
And so, with the Paintress defeated, we finally enter Act 3, where things get confusing.
What? Huh? Hey! What is happening? Wait, I lose?
I was very confused, but intrigued. This story is just amazing. Absolute 10 out of 10 all around.
What is happening? Hello, hi mom. Please explain.
Anyways, it is also here where we unlock the Painter's Power Pictos. Try saying that 3 times quickly. Painter's Power Pictos. Finally letting us bypass the 10,000 damage threshold. And personally, here is where the game kinda breaks for me. I love exploiting games, making the absolute best possible builds and fully dismantling them. But in this one, it's almost too easy. Let's take an enemy, which I am sure a lot of people attempt fairly early, Sprong. He's a really tough fight, and if you attempt him while under the 10,000 damage restraint, it feels very difficult, as every time he loses 25% of his health, his attacks become stronger and his moves become quicker. Even after me having beaten the Paintress, the closest I could get to beating him was just bringing him to half health. Without the damage cap though, by simply just equipping every single Pictos I had, which said increased damage, it goes from this fun, challenging fight to, well, this. Just a straight up one-shot.
Oh, defeat a boss without taking any damage. Hooray, I did it.
technically I had beaten him without dodging or parrying, but it just didn't feel fulfilling. I hadn't really done anything, and I hadn't really even created a smart build. I had just equipped everything that said increased damage. So to keep in the spirit of this defensive challenge, I decided that I would not use the painted power pictos on any character for the rest of this playthrough. A choice which I would come to regret with some of the upcoming bosses, but it would certainly make things more interesting, that's for sure. Anyways, now in Act 3, we unlock Flight for SKA.
Whoa.
Opening up like 20-30 new optional areas. But since I did not want the finale to be too easy, it is instead time to head straight back to Lumière one final time.
Tomorrow comes.
Tomorrow comes. Come at me, brother. Oh. Okay. It's time. Oh, there he is.
And take on the final boss and the curator himself, the real Renoir.
Let's go. Renoir. Alright, let's see what you got. Ah! That was more damage than the painter's did during her entire fight.
This is actually his highest damaging move, so the fact that I could tank through it was a really good sign. And with my L blocking and Verso hitting for max damage on basically every hit, I fairly quickly got him down to half health.
Renoir summons the Axons. Oh my god. Oh, that's so cool!
This is another fight where the sheer spectacle of the game can really shine.
Who's the hauler? Did he just throw a whole building at me? Alright, phase 2 time. Holy shit, it's Attack on Titan.
It is more cinematic than anything dangerous though, and eventually, without him being able to even take out a single one of my characters.
Okay, we're fine. Jesus, he does way more damage than I thought he would. Damn, this is so cool. This game is so cool. How long is he gonna attack for though? Oh god. Please stop. Okay, we're fine. Unleashes his full... Oh god.
We can finally put an end to Renoir.
What a final battle, honestly. That was amazing.
And as for the final battle...
Oh shit.
It is very easy to beat no matter who you pick. Which means that we have done it. Expedition 33 has successfully been beaten on expert mode without parrying or dodging a single attack.
What a game! Oh, that was so good. Easily goes in my top 10 games ever.
And with that, I probably should have called it here. But I knew, deep inside, that there were more fights remaining and that this final Renoir one was nowhere near the hardest fight that this game has to offer. So instead of ending it here, it was time to continue on and take on the 30+ hours of optional content that Act 3 has to offer.
Yeah, take that sheep.
Sadly, I can't really show everything here. If I did, this video would last for an entire extra hour.
100?
So instead, we are just going to take a look at the 3 biggest, baddest of them all. Alicia, Clea, and of course, Simon. The easiest of these, by a long shot, is Alicia, so this is the first one we are going to tackle. It's another 1v1 where the only character we get is Mael. However, I'm sure a lot of you are confused. How is Alicia even here? This is barely even a fight. And yeah, that is very true if you play with uncapped damage, but since we are not, things that normally seem super easy are, well, quite a bit harder here. Taking a look at the fight, and one thing becomes obvious right away. The sheer speed difference between her and me. Since I got here as early as level 55, I kinda had no speed to work with. So in between each of my moves, she would get 2 or sometimes even 3.
Bro, I already lost.
And eventually, after bringing her a bit lower, she powers up even more. I could mitigate this slightly by equipping myself with accelerating last stand, but she would still very much outspeed me regardless. I still figured it would be fine though. I had, after all, found these pictos on the Dark Shore.
That sounds awful. It has 1300 defense.
And it was enough to keep me alive, but only temporarily. I could heal for 35% of my health each turn using healing, fire, and recovery, but in order to not instantly die, I had to make sure to always stay in defensive mode. And the only way I had of doing so was by continuously spamming Meso Forte every turn. It did work for some time, but I noticed that I was slowly but surely still getting chipped down. If I could just give myself 2 turns instead of just 1, I could have sustained it. And doing this was fairly simple really. The creation boss fight right before Renoir had after all dropped a Pictos called Faster Than Stronger, letting me always play 2 times in a row at the cost of doing a bit less damage. This was enough for the first part of the fight, but only up until she granted herself permanent powerful. Here her moves get stronger and she also hits way harder. During one attempt I did manage to get her even lower, but that just resulted in her also getting a speed buff.
It's faster? Oh hell nah.
Leading to the exact same outcome. It was clear I needed more defensive layers. The most important one being Shell for the massive 30% damage reduction. I could also use Enfeebling Mark, making her deal 30% less damage as long as she has one, and apply it by just spamming free aim attacks. And by using Gustav's Homage, which does not remove it, alongside all the Mark Pictos, could keep it up almost permanently.
I need a mark. I'm not getting a mark, am I? Well, see if I survive this. Oh, it's gonna be close. It's gonna be close. Oh my god, I live. That was not easy. But we got it.
So yeah, that is by far the easiest one, but I just wanted to show it, cause as I'm sure you know, the other 2 are like 100 times harder, and I already struggled this hard on this one. Since the 2 of the remaining fights are like the last fights you're meant to do, we are going to have to make a little time skip ahead till I was around level 85. I had to do a lot of fighting to get here, most of which took a really long time.
Victory!
But eventually, I was able to make my way over to the second fight. I figured I'd have some real trouble with the damage here, so before engaging, it was time to get as tanky as we possibly could. So first, I went back over to the location where Gustav had tripped and fell earlier and collected defensive mode. It makes it so that anytime we take damage, by spending 1 AP, we can reduce this amount by a huge 30%. And since we always gain 1 AP upon being hit, this is just straight up free. Next, I went back over to the Reacher, where we had fought Alicia, and beat up this merchant here, in order to buy Verso a new weapon called Tireso. On hitting an enemy with the base attack, it applies Mark to them, letting me use Enfeebling Mark to make anyone affected deal 30% less damage. But that is not all it does. At level 20, it also applies Powerless to anyone being marked, meaning that by combining this with Greater Powerless, a Pictos gotten from almost the top of the Endless Tower. Don't ask how long it took to get here, I don't wanna recall.
I did it. That took so long.
They also lose another 35% damage. So with all of this, alongside equipping the most defensive Pictos I had available, it was time to finally face Clea. And well, as it turns out, I may have gone a bit overboard.
Alright, let's see how much damage she does. Well then, I guess I'm pretty tanky now. That didn't do anything.
Yeah, with all these buffs, she just could not touch me. Even having Mael out of defensive mode, and she was still barely getting hurt. But that does not mean that this fight will be easy. While, yes, I could tank any amount of hits, the same could also be said the other way around. Anytime Clea manages to land even a single hit on a character, at the end of her turn, she will then heal for over 1,000,000 HP. And currently, since I had been stupid enough to cap my damage to 10,000, I could not do anywhere near that amount. I would need to significantly up my damage if I wanted any chance, and the best way I could think of would be through a free aim build. Seemed pretty logical as I could only hit for 9999. And all it really requires is just 2 Pictos. The first one can be found on the floor inside the Flying Manor, making it so that 1/5 of the time our free aim shots will refund themselves. Easy enough to get. The second one though would be a bit trickier, as it's guarded behind this big boy here.
I have no idea what you are. I don't know if I can beat you. Let's try it.
Since I was easily able to tank Clea, his normal attacks were not doing much. But it was not them I was worried about. Every time you attempt a free aim hit on him, he will simply absorb the AT, taking no damage from it. And the same will happen at the start of any of his turns, draining me of all my AP on all my characters. Eventually, after absorbing enough, he will then explode, stunning himself and taking massive damage, but at the same time releasing a giant attack which deals so much damage that even with all of these defenses, only Mael was able to tank it. The others had no chance.
Uh-oh. Can Verso tank this? He cannot.
This would have been a big problem, but there's one Pictos which just trivializes this fight. The base shield one, giving me 1 shield on turn start. And since this big explosion is just 1 hit, it is enough to completely block it. This meant that by just continuously using all my AP on free aims, he would instantly, after recovering, then blow up again, which would be blocked by the shields.
Feels like I'm cheesing this boss completely.
And I was successfully able to just repeat this all the way till he died, rewarding us with the Energy Master Pictos, increasing all our AP generation by 1. So now, every time we free aim, there's a 20% chance that we regain 2 AP, meaning that technically, if we get lucky enough, we have infinite damage. Of course, getting that lucky is not plausible, and while, yes, it did significantly up my damage, I could still just not deal over 1 million damage in a turn.
I can't get through her defenses.
Clea remained just as invulnerable as she was before. It looked like this finally was the end of my completely defense-oriented playstyle. Or at least, I thought that was the case until I eventually got a stun on her.
Hooray, she's stunned. Wait a second, she didn't heal there, did she?
Since Clea never got to hit me, she would therefore also just not heal herself the turn she was stunned. So if I wanted to beat this fight, I just needed to figure out a way of somehow permanently stunning her. And after looking through all of the game's Pictos, I quickly discovered the dumbest, most overpowered one this game has, gotten by taking out this Thunderevic.
Victory! There it is. Fully charge enemy's break bar on death. I don't understand how this is here. That sounds so stupid.
Yeah, if you also agree with it sounding stupid, it's because it is. This one is so overpowered that I don't understand how it made it through playtesting. Anytime anyone on our party dies with it equipped, we can then instantly stun any enemy. And by combining it with something like, I don't know, auto death, instantly killing us upon entering the fight, we can start the fight by stunning any boss. This works great for the first turn, and in most playthroughs you can kinda just win any battle during these 2 turns. But not here. No, we would still significantly lack the damage. I would need a way of continuously killing off my own characters, and I actually quickly found one on one of Mael's weapons, called Stalum. At the start of our turn, it will self-apply a burn stack to us. By combining this with the seemingly most useless Lumina in existence, called the One, setting our maximum HP to just 1, and we can have Mael die every 2 turns she takes. So with this, it was time to return to Clea and take her down once and for all. Every turn, I would bring back Mael using Luna's Revivify, have her burn, and then as soon as Clea had taken a turn, instantly explode, letting me just reapply the stun immediately. And as long as I made sure that Mael, you know, actually died.
Wait, why does she get a turn? And she ate him. Okay, yeah, I'm so stupid.
This worked like a charm. Clea never even got to move, and Verso was free to simply just go ham turn after turn. Until eventually, after almost 20 minutes straight, she finally went down. And so with Clea down, all that remained now was Simon.
Whoa, 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 where am I going? Okay, this guy looks ridiculously strong, but maybe we can tank him.
In hindsight, saying this is very dumb. Simon is the hardest fight in this game by a long shot, but phase 1 was actually very doable. Apart from stealing my shields, he really was just not able to deal any sort of damage to Mael, and she just face tanked... Jesus. Where was I? And she just face tanked him all the way through.
Machine got him! Wait, what? I did it? There's no way that's it.
And I was right. Phase 1 is just a start. It is in phase 2 where shit really kicks off.
This is not gonna end well.
Here, all his moves get significantly faster and stronger, which honestly might have been fine, if not for the fact that he also gets more of them. Since he's so much faster than me, this means that he could set Miles' HP to 1 and then, during the same turn, attack her, which is kinda just straight up cheating, cause you obviously can't tank anything when on 1 health. And sure, I was able to bring her back, but only up until he got 3 moves in a row. Because of course, he has even more fun mechanics. Any dead teammate will, as long as Simon gets a turn, instantly be removed permanently from the fight. Sorta similar to what Renoir did. This meant that straight up tanking him would just not be possible. So it was time to return to the broken perma-stunning strategy. First though, we have to deal with how fast Simon is. He is so fast that, as you saw, sometimes he gets 3 moves in between our 1. I could get everyone up to about 3000 speed by equipping all the best speed pictos and at the same time putting 99 points into both luck and agility, and even increase it by another 58% with greater rush, but it still just wouldn't be enough. Thankfully though, we can also slow Simon, which with greater slow will reduce his overall speed by a massive 40%. All of these together make it so that now in the fight, instead of Simon having 3 moves to our every 1, we actually get 2 moves to his every 1. So it was time to reapply the permanent stunning strategy, and for a while it looked like it was working. It was certainly not fast, but with me having this many turns, I was slowly able to chip away at his HP. But this fight is so stupid that even while permanently stunned, it wouldn't be simple. Because stunning Simon only partially works. It prevents his actual attacks, but does not stop him from setting our character's HP to 0, or more importantly, removing them if they are dead. This meant that I always had to make sure that Mael was alive before Simon got a turn, which seemed easy enough, but I may have given her a bit too much speed, as eventually, after dealing about 25% of his health, when reviving her, she instantly got 2 turns in a row. And as we know, 2 turns is enough for her to both start burning and then immediately die, letting Simon remove her and thus making me lose. Thankfully, solving this problem is not all that hard. All I had to do was just equip her with the shielding tints, letting her give herself some shield whenever this happened, and thus live through the turn. And yeah, that's really about it. Turn after turn, I just stunned him, and using the Verso machine gun, eventually victory was mine.
There it is. 51 minutes, huh? Okay, I knew it took long, but was I really here for an hour?
And so, with Simon down, we have finally beaten every single possible fight in Expedition 33 without dodging or parrying. This game is amazing, like one of the best games I have ever played. And if you for some reason have not played it yourself, then first off, why are you watching this video? And secondly, go play it right now. It really is amazing. You won't regret it. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. It certainly took a while to make. Also, thank you all so much for 100k subs. That's a crazy number and I never thought I'd even get close to it. You guys really are awesome. Alright, that's about it. See you in the next one and thanks for watching. Bye-bye.